You can start. It's good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone, wherever you are. We have met again, as we do usually on Saturdays, to have a conversation on Pan-African unification. So welcome. And today we shall, as usual, be discussing the unification of Africa, have that conversation. And as part of that conversation, I shall do a presentation of what is called colorism, which has to do with the color of one's skin or the shade of one's skin. We'll look at that in the context of African unification, liberation, and development. So welcome, everyone. Brother Pigeon.
Yes, Brother Kwame.
Yeah, can you start with the news for us? You go around and ask everyone what news they want to share in terms of unification of Africa, what they have heard or seen or know, that they think they can share with us. The continent is on holiday briefly, so I won't be sharing anything on the continent from the continent. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Brother Kwame, and thank you for all members who have joined us. And tomorrow will be joining us, or more will be watching our YouTube uploads. We do appreciate your presence, your support, your continuous engagement, and together we are growing towards liberating, unifying, and developing Africa. As Brother Kwame has said, on our Saturday classes, we base our conversations towards the unification. And therefore, this is the time we actually have time to listen to what's going on in regards to various territories or various countries, in regards to the unification. Are the news either towards dividing us or uniting us as a people? And what can we do? Because that's very important in this journey. The unification must also start from various countries or various territories or various communities. So that's the type of news you're interested in. What's going on in your country and how can you link it towards the unification? Does it take us towards the unification or it takes us away from unifying as a continent? So thank you very much. I'll be going around. I'll call upon you. You share your news either in your country or outside your country or anywhere you come across it. And how do you think it takes us towards the unification of our people? I will start by Kenya before I go around because I have to finish. I'll go back to Brother Kwame. But from Kenya, I know Sister Joan is also here. She from Kenya. From Kenya, I will say that there is a demonstration and protest that has been going on in Kenya. And from my angle of understanding that it brings an image or an outlook of a unified younger generation. Because the younger people are going to the street, irrespective of their so-called ethnicities, irrespective of their so-called social structure, either they're educated or not educated, and they're coming out in one voice to reject the government of William Ruto, making it seriously that the government of William Ruto must calm down, that William Ruto must go away. So to me, I view it as a good progress towards the unification at a country level like Kenya. And I think this is a right direction towards also unification as a continental level, just from a country level. That's my bit part of the information, but I'll be coming up maybe with more, and Sister John can also share more as we move along. I'll go straight to Sister Tapua, who was here first with us. Let's start with the Sister Tapua, which is, Tapua. Kelly, share with us something from your side.
I'm trying to link it with the study on Thursday, where we learned that action must be preceded by thought. I think a lot of Zimbabweans at the moment are so focused on making a living and just generally wishing things would go away, but they don't have a strategy of how that's going to happen. So everyone is agreed that the situation is terrible. Everyone is agreed that we should do something about it. We've got laws that stop us from going into the streets. But we need to work, as Pan-Africanists, we need to work on helping people to see a way through. And I'm struggling to see from where I am much of that, because there's a lot of despondency amongst the people. So there's work for us to do. That's all for now.
Sister Tapua, thank you. Thank you for that. Let's get to Sister Shaza. I know Sister Chisoma said that she cannot be able to speak from wherever she is. Sister Shaza, any news that you think across the globe, and how do you think maybe it can lead to our unification or division?
Yeah, greetings. I don't know. I think what's happening in Kenya at the moment. Can I just ask whether that's to do with the issue between the president and that talk that he had with Biden? Is that what they're protesting about, or what?
No, they are protesting about the financial bill that the president is putting in place in order to help raise the revenue to support the budget that was read recently. And that financial bill brings in place more taxation. That's what the people are rejecting. But beyond that, they are also saying that the president must go.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a good start. So yeah, I've got nothing more to add to that.
Okay, thank you. Let's get to Brother Raspala from South Africa. Any news over there?
Yeah, General, give thanks, my brother. No, I have no response for now, my brother, man. Can you please pass, man?
How is the situation so far in regards to the unity between
yes, I'm gonna compile just that, my brother, in like 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Then let's go to Sister Tendai. Any news from where you are on the globe that you wish to share with us? And how do you see it either adds to the unification or either it leads far away from the division of people, especially as us?
Thank you very much for having me in the meeting. It's my first time joining, so I don't really know whether what I am experiencing can really contribute. I want to take a back bench and listen and learn, but I'm listening, and I live in Seattle, Washington, in the United States, and I love Africa and the idea of unity. I think that's the only way forward, because we're such a big force to reckon with, and dividing and rule has put us to be where we are now. So we should do all we can to unite and be the force that we already are, but our efforts are always thwarted from within and from without. So we have to find a starting point somewhere. Thank you.
Welcome, sister, and thank you very much for joining us. Just from US, do you see the Black community coming together, uniting or working together from your perspective? How do you see the community of Black people around there?
The work ethic here is crazy. Like right now, I'm at work, but I can talk. But people work too much, I think, so much that they don't have much time to even think of the social aspect. And it was saddening for me to realize that much as the Blacks are still marginalized here as well, the Black Americans and sadly the Africans who are now here, there's not much unity, because the Black Americans think we're coming to take their good jobs and fulfill the percentage that's needed for them to say we have Black people here, but while they're being marginalized and they feel like they built this country up, and that we're here just coming to overtake them. So wish it could be better. But it's still the same. What they don't realize is that they were oppressed here and we were oppressed back home, and we're in the same boat.
Sister Tendai, can I ask you where you said home was?
Seattle, Washington. I live on Mesa Island.
Where did you come from? Did you say you were Zimbabwe?
I've lived here for 20 years, but home is Zimbabwe.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I'm Tapua's sister. I'm Tapua's younger sister.
Oh, your sister, Tapoa's sister.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wonderful. Sorry, Brother Pigman. Brother
Now,
Pigeon, what were you
I'm
saying?
now to you. I'm now to you. Just proceed. Share with us what you have.
Oh, you're now to me. Oh, I don't really have anything. I was also interested in what's going on in Kenya, but I look forward to hearing about it tomorrow. Nothing particularly is going on here that I really want to share as such.
Okay,
Apart
thank you.
from the elections are coming up. So there's all sorts of rubbish going around, but half the time I don't even bother listening to it. Sorry.
Okay,
So I can't share.
Sister Ida.
Yeah.
After this, you'll try to get in touch with Sister Marlin. She's trying to get in. But before that, permit me also to ask you, are you seeing the same question I asked Sister Tendai? Are you seeing the Black community in the UK or wherever you are trying to work together or come together to support each other, to stand in solidarity? Are you seeing that going on over there?
Yeah, there's quite a lot of it, but I think more on Zooms and stuff. We hear each other's voices. But as for actually happening in the real world, like everybody meeting up, I don't think so as such. I think it's more what people have to say. And in fact, the WhatsApp groups, I mean, I'm sorry we've lost our WhatsApp group, but the WhatsApp groups are where you really hear things, whether it's for good, bad, whatever, but that's where you really hear it. And I have to say, the reason I think we're not getting a lot of people coming into a lot of our meetings is it's very hard to get in unless you press, I'm not a robot, and then that will let you in. Otherwise, you'll stay there waiting. So
Okay, sorry for that, but it's worth also the security because we don't want also too much of infiltration like it happened last time. But
once
yeah,
in what? Once in a
yeah,
year.
maybe the second one will bring down the whole house, so you don't give the second room for the next
Sometimes
thing.
you just have to go with things.
Okay, thank you. I hear you, and thank you for that. Sister John Kimani.
Yes.
Any news in regards to unification or anything going on that you like to share with us?
The only news that are pressing in Kenya is about the protest against the finance bill.
Were you in the street?
Well,
okay, let's meet Tuesday.
I supported online.
Let's meet Tuesday.
Sawa.
Okay, then with that, Sister Chisomo can't be able to speak. Sister Shaza, hope you've shared your update.
Hello, sorry, I haven't got no updates. Sorry.
Okay, so back to you, Brother Kwame.
Sorry, did you say it's my turn?
Back to you. I've gone through my list.
Well, you didn't call me. We forgot me. Well, you don't think I should also be sharing news?
That's what I'm saying. It's back to you to share the news first.
Okay. So yeah, it's fine. We don't have the the continent because on holiday. So I'll share something from the AP, which is on your screens. I think we need to remember that the point of the news is to link it with African unification. So when you share with us what is happening around you, you must tell us how that advances or does not advance African unification. So we're not just sharing news for sharing's sake. And it's also part of current affairs. If we are having a conversation about African unification, then we need to also be talking about what is going on around us in the world today. and how that is affecting African unification. Because we can't be having a conversation about African unification and not talk about what is going on around us in the world. And if you are coming here and you have no news on Africa, or you have no news at all, are you listening to the world? Are you involved with current affairs? Do you know what is going on around you? I mean, because in a way, we should be, shall we say, cosmopolitan citizens. We should be citizens of the world. And if we are interested in African unification, then surely everything happening around us must concern us, not just in our locality, but in our nation state, on the African continent, in the diaspora, and in the world. Because the world is huge, but it's also like a village. We're all now very interconnected. So I am, in a way, very concerned. The people come here and they say, well, I don't have any news to share. How can it be so when we have a passion that we live for, and we are so determined that it even happens in our lifetime, which is African unification? And so sure there must be something happening. So I think if you're not already doing so, please take more interest in current affairs and what is happening around us and how you think that affects or doesn't affect African unification. And I'm sure all of us have different interests. You may be interested in health, or you'll be interested in education. You may be interested in the military. You may be interested in cooking or cookery. You may be interested in transport. You may be interested in economics, politics, whatever your interest. Surely there must be something happening around the world, not happening, that you want to share with us. So I will encourage brothers and sisters, mostly sisters here, because the brothers have seen the brothers have disappeared in action. Anyway, it's our sisters that have always held the fort anyway. Whenever you see a revolution, ask who are the sisters, mothers, and aunties behind it. Even though men seem to take the credit, it's the women that, in the end, hold the fort. So anyway, so I will encourage us all to look at our sphere of interest, where we are interested in, and then see how what is happening in the world around us impinges on that as far as the conversation is concerned. Yeah. So on the AP news, I'll just go for the headlines. And the headlines, in a way, should inform us as to what we think is happening. Because if you look at the headlines across the continent, most of the reports are on the nation states and what's happening around them and what's happening within them. So what is happening in Malawi, for instance, or in Ivory Coast, or in South Africa, more so than others, people kind of link it with what is happening in the continent as a whole. So if you look at South Africa's new government, which we are told brings black and white together, black and white, again, you can see colorism there. Can you see that? Because black is the absence of color and white is a color. Yeah, or white is all the primary colors together. Yeah, because what is white? So white is made up of red, orange, yellow, yellow, and so on, and that is what white. And so black is used to refer to the indigenous African people. So you can see there colorism, which means that colorism is an issue in the African psyche, or in the way that African is seen in terms of skin color. Whether that is positive or negative is for us to discuss here. Then there's the Ivory Coast. We are told there is some kind of health coverage program. Again, there's a health issue there. How is this mobile enrollment program? How is this linked up with the health situation in Africa as a whole? How is it helping us? and so on and so forth. We've got the Kenyan situation, there's anti-government protests. The Kenyan police are noted, they're not the only one though, are noted for serious offenses. You know, people disappear. The Kenyan police are known for, they are not prosecuted. No, as I understand it, Brother P, you can correct me, but the Kenyan police are not being prosecuted for crimes that they are committing. So I mean, look at this picture. Here is a Kenyan police holding a gun as if, you know, kind of trigger happy. And Sister Nancy is here. She'll probably share with us, if she wants to, how police in America, you know, just trigger happy. Just ready to shoot black people. Again, there's colorism in that matter. Color, the question of color. It's as if a certain color, a certain shade of one's skin means non-value, and a certain shade is of value. And then there are some between. Niger revokes French companies' operating permit. Niger, the word Niger itself means black. You know, it's from the Latin. So it's a Latin word. You know, negro. You know, and it's from that word that we get with nigger, which is a derogative term used for black people in the United States of America. They revoked French companies' operating permit. And then there is, if I scroll down, we have, again, something on health in Kenya about snake bites, no treatment. It's hard to find one in Kenya. So if you are bitten by a snake in Kenya, woe betides you. In Burundi, the shortages and power cuts, the slow return from international isolation. Burundi are fighting the diamond magnates for more of their diamonds that are harvested. South Africa, again, on the health issue. There's a lot of health stories this week in AP. Respiratory diseases plague Kenya again. AP must be based in Kenya because a lot of stories on Kenya. Central African Republic charges European aid worker with terrorism and undermining security. In Niger, there have been floods. In Namibia, a court has overturned a law that criminalizes gay sex between men as unconstitutional. And then international court unseals arrest warrant for a Mali suspect. Whether they will also issue, I don't know if they've issued one for Netanyahu, whose least a governor has killed almost 30,000 human beings on this planet. I think they should be more focused on that than one suspect in Mali, you know, accused of crimes that I'm sure comes no near what Blair and Bush did. And yet they always come after us, the Africans, rather than arresting Europeans. I mean, Blair is freely going around. Nobody's arresting him. And yet there are some African heads of states who have been arrested and taken to The Hague, as I understand it. U.S. tourists, all this is part of the colorism issue, the question of skin color. It's as if you have a certain skin color, you should be arrested and jailed. If you don't have a certain skin color, you should be free. You should be treated differently, and so on and so forth. U.S. tourists killed in Zambia, elephant attack, apparently. Then there's Europe and Africa. Against South Africa, again, South Sudan this time. There's concern over peace talks. Macron and African leaders apparently pushing for vaccines for Africa. We don't like to talk about vaccines in our programs because YouTube seems to be very, very worried about people talking against vaccines. So we don't like to talk about vaccines. They took down one of our videos over vaccines. Some life-saving food assistance enters South Darfur, UN has said. So again, food issue. So health, food. You can see jihadists from Africa's Sahel cross into Nigeria's north. You know, jihadists. The word jihad itself has a complete different meaning, but yet people who say they are jihadists, you know, jihad is supposed to be something internal, where you overcome. It's something to do with spirituality, where you overcome what you call the carnal self, so that you rise above the ordinary and become a better as expressing God or divinity. And yet it's been turned into terrorism, into killing people, and so on. Ramaphosa has become has won second term. It's as if Ramaphosa is more interested in being president than in getting the Africans onto a better standard of life in South Africa. I mean, the guy seems to be very interested. He just wants to be president. That is what seems to. I might be wrong, but that is what comes across. That this guy just loves being president, despite the fact he's very wealthy. And yet there are ordinary South Africans who are suffering, and so on. South Sudan, Sudan again, there's accused UAE of fueling war. This has been mentioned in one of our classes, whether it was a Thursday or a Saturday class, that UAE is behind some of the war in Sudan, that they are fueling it. And some see this as linked with Arabism and so on and so forth, that the Arabs don't like us Africans because of our skin color. Again, colorism, the way we are treated when we get to the airport in Egypt, we are treated differently. When they see you dark, they treat you differently than if you are not dark. All this part of our world. Kenya, Brother Pigeon has mentioned it, 200 arrested. I mean, if people are lawfully expressing their dissent for a government, is that a reason to arrest them? This Kenyan police, somebody must. And the thing is, the AU, that says nothing. And the reason it says nothing is because supposedly the Constitution, yes.
They sent a letter. There's a letter that the AU communicated, but it was through media team. It's not verified whether it was official from AU.
What did it say?
They were condemning police harassment and the government trying to attack the youth in the street.
Yeah, but that is not enough. What is Museveni saying? He's next door. What is he saying? Anyway, during elections, his own government forces attack ordinary people. So why would he say that? That's why people say that the AU is a club for heads of states, and that is ineffective. I know Sister Chizomo here wants us to reform the AU, by which she meant, when I discussed with her, that the AU constitution should be amended rather than the AU abolished, which is a fair point to make. That if we change the constitution, so for instance, Museveni cannot talk directly against the Kenyan head of state, because their constitution says that they must stay outside each other's jurisdiction. So if you see your neighbor killing members of your nationality, but it just happens that the border between you means that part of your nationality is on this side, and the other part is on the other side, like Rwanda and Congo. You have Rwandese people who speak Rwanda. They live on the Rwanda side. The same people also live on the Congo side, same nationality. So if you're in Rwanda and you're a Rwandan president, and the Congolese president is killing members of your family, you can't say anything. And that is how absurd the AU constitution is. Similarly, if you are Congo and the Rwandan army is killing your people on the other side, again, you say nothing. I mean, surely this can't be good for us. But anyway, that is the current constitution. Central African Republic faces increased rebel activity and spillover from Sudan war. So that's what we are told. And so on and so forth. Then Malawi, Sister Chizomo is from Malawi, as we know, and she has been very, very concerned. In fact, she watched the laying to rest of President Chilima all day, and we had a lengthy discussion on it. It's very sad that Chilima are believed for for Malawi what Nkrumah believed for the whole of Africa. And what is that? That the welfare of all the people must be the supreme law, as it were, not just a section. And Chilema believed in that. And for that and other reasons, it is believed he was murdered, and that the helicopter he was traveling in to help bury the previous Attorney General, that the helicopter was tampered with. So his wife refused to go, and she went home, and he kind of just went, and his helicopter never got to its destination. So that's the story there, sad, which again raises the question about how safe African presidents are, continentally. How safe are our heads of states? Assuming they were even working in our interests. I mean, some of them are not working in our interests, but are they safe? But if they were working in our interests, will they be safe? Since the coming into office of presidents or heads or military heads of states in Mali, Niger, and so on, we've had so many coup attempts against them, by the French and others because of the bit of Russian influence. In fact, America even passed a law saying that Russian influence in Africa is not good, as if Africans can't make up their own minds who should be their friends. It was Mandela that used to say that you can't tell us who should be our friends. And so on and so on. I think I will. So many news. Yes, Brother Pigeon.
No, I just wanted to remind you that our news time is almost coming to an end.
Yeah, that's fine. Niger, I'll end with the Nigerian former president, Bazoum. So Bazoum's immunity has been lifted. The highest court in Niger has lifted his immunity, which could mean that he will be prosecuted, or he can be prosecuted. Sister Nancy, can President Trump stand for the presidency in America, even though he's been found guilty? Can he still stand? Out of interest.
I think there's a good chance that he can win. But the reality is that, in this country, people are led to believe that the Democratic versus Republican Party gives them a choice, but there's no choice. They're both capitalist parties, and they both work very much in the interest of imperialism, very much. Our people in this country had a lot of hope when Barack Obama became president. And I vividly remember warning people, he was a senator before he ran for president. You only need to look at his record to see that he was an imperialist and a Zionist. And, he even though some of his domestic policies may have been, a little bit more humanistic, but for the most part, he's not going to do anything to upset the capitalist class, and he's certainly not going to do anything to upset the imperialists in the world. So our people, no matter who wins, we all lose until we overcome this illusion that we're going to find liberation through these capitalist parties and until we work to overthrow capitalism, period. But our people are not there yet.
Yeah, very interesting you say that. When I was in South Africa, after apartheid fell, one of the things that we said, or some of us said, was that the liberal government, or the liberals, that the Afrikaners told us in our face they didn't like us. They hated us as Africans. So we knew where we stood with them. But the English liberals, they'll tell you they love you, But it's like what you say, daggers in men's smiles. They smile with you, and yet they have daggers. Brother Pigeon, I think it's fair to say the news should be coming to an end. But we have an Entati Chris hand up. Let's hear from Entati Chris, and then I'll do my presentation, which is part of what we are discussing. I'll try and make it brief so that we have more discussion. Yes, please unmute yourself and speak. And Tati, Chris, unmute yourself and speak. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Chris, and
Chris, you look fabulous. Have we met before?
Probably in some earlier sessions on this group before, but I haven't been around for some time.
Yeah, you want to share some news with us, yeah?
Not really. It is just to pose a question to you, because I think you raised a couple of things that I think are important, and I gripe on mine.
I'm always raising things, brother.
Yeah, you raised an issue about us coming here or whatever platform or sphere of life we are in with current affairs about Africa, because we wanna move towards that.
Yeah, we want to have a conversation around
exactly.
Yeah.
My problem with that, and it is highlighted by the new source you were utilizing, which is AP. And by the way, just to declare my interest up front, I was a journalist before. I'm still from the old school that believes that there is good journalism and there's bad journalism.
Yes.
So for me, the democratization of information through social media, I think has created some problems. So for me, it was interesting that you chose AP.
That was random. It was randomly chosen, by the way.
And for me, AP is one of those creme de la creme of news information that is reliable, verifiable. Really? So when you are talking about current affairs, my question to you is, how can, because by its very nature, current affairs, it's long form. It is not a snippet that is aimed at immediate attention and scrolling to the next. It's not like that. That's why even when you see the layout, those stories you are looking at, you are forced to not only read the headlines, but you want to click on the story to read the longer story.
Yes.
Most of us today consume our news and information from Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and many others, maybe LinkedIn. All those are short form news content. They are not aimed at generating debates per se. They are aimed at just grabbing attention, either provoking anger or support. And as a result, we just scroll through those. So when you talk about current affairs, I think for me, it was interesting to see there is somebody that still believes in current affairs, because Twitter, Facebook, and all these other mediums, there is no longer a clear distinction between an opinion, fact, current affairs, just commentary. Everything is lumped together. And as a result, and unfortunately, you can choose what you want to see in those platforms. So you end up not really being aware, like the briefing you were doing about AP. In that 5-10 minutes you were giving, there was so much in-depth stories I saw about Africa. If you had used your Twitter page to show us that, I can guarantee you half of it would be TikTok and none of it would be useful information. It's just consuming our time, but we're not learning. So for me, that's the challenge that you are raising, because if you are challenging us to be aware of current affairs by its very nature, it says don't just consume, which is what Twitter, Facebook, Instagram do. They make you be a consumer of something you don't produce. Current affairs asks you, look around you where you are. What do you see? And then you share that with other people. And not only in a way that is just 3 seconds clip, but a bit more longer so that we understand the nuance. Our problem is we have become a society and a generation that believes in simple answers to complex issues. The issues in Darfur, the issues in South Africa now with these current elections and the results are not just about ANC and DA. They are a lot more complex. There's a lot more nuance. And we need to go into a bit more depth looking at those. The issues in Sudan, what's happening there, the issues between Rwanda and DRC. It's not just M23 and Congo. There's a lot more that we need. So I find that...
Ntate.
Yes, sir.
I would like you to join us on Saturdays, because here you are a qualified journalist. And when I said what I said, you you quickly latched onto what I meant, which is precisely what we are looking for. So I'll really appreciate if you could join us on whatever Saturdays you can, because one of the things that we also do is, as part of the conversation, we also then also look at a presentation. So maybe you'd like to talk to us more about what it means to be hooked onto current affairs as part of our presentation. So thank you very, very much for that. Did you have anything more you want to add? Then before I start my presentation.
No, that will be all. Thank you very much.
That'll be all. Okay.
Brother Kwazi,
Yes.
before I stop sharing this screen,
Yes.
this is a friend, my fellow comrade. He works with the Social Defenders Coalition,
Which
which
one?
is
Is that the one holding the placard?
Yeah, the one holding the placard. And it is very interesting that his level of consciousness in regards to the context of the placard.
Yes.
But he's a very good friend. We work closely to coordinate some of few things. And it was interesting to see him here alongside other comrades who are here. And that's what I wanted to share, because I saw him, he was on the magazine, I saw that, and the content of the placard is what impressed me.
But you realize that our Christian friends would not be happy with that. Most Christians.
Yeah, but it's good. But it's good to rest him, because Kenya is almost being believed to over 70% Christian. But if you see, young people can find this, because this government has been on the premises of church and Christianity. And in fact, the young people have said that tomorrow they'll be in the churches to watch. Any politician will not speak in any podium in any church in this country. They've declared that.
But I thought it's the heads of states have the politicians also are free to speak whatever they like. Oh, no?
They are chased away from any barrier. They will not speak anywhere as long as they support the bill. They will not speak anywhere.
Right. But Brother Glenroy's hand is up. So I'll let Brother speak.
I just quickly wanted to correct you. I don't think Christians believe that prayer can change governments.
I respectfully disagree, brother. But I hear you. Okay, so colorism. There is so can you all see my screen, by the way? Yeah. Pigeon, is the screen?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, thank you. Now, colorism, the spelling, as you can see, is the American spelling rather than the UK spelling. The UK spelling has a U between O and R. This is the American spelling. So I'm presenting to you. I'm Brother Christian Kwame Agbotsa. I chair this group. Brother Pigeon here is a co-chair. Sister Ida is also a co-chair, even though she doesn't like to come forward. I hope I'm not embarrassing you, Sister Ida. There's an organization, company called the Kwame Nkrumah Trusts. That was the parent organization that set up CSG, and that is I'm a director of that organization. I am looking for Sister Myra here. Is an active part of the trust. I'm looking for other people who want to be directors so that we can have a global directorate. By profession, I'm a mathematics educator at the secondary level. I'm going to skip this, but some of the things I'm going to talk about will involve what colorism means, colorism and passing, the impact of colorism in Africa, colorism and Black unity, how to dismantle colorism, and then the conclusion. But I won't be covering all of this today. I will only do part of it. And whilst researching the topic, I realized that it cannot be one session. It's going to be a series of sessions, but it won't be continuous. So I won't do it as Brother Foucault did, which did a series of presentations almost probably about 7 Saturdays, I think, on the hidden government, on so on, lodges and things like that. So but I won't be doing that. So I'm only going to take a small section of this today. There's Swahili in the waiting room, please. Can you let him in, him or her in there? So we will delve into the complex of colorism within the Black community in Africa and the diaspora. Colorism is about white skin tone variations, which, if you ask James Brown, the late James Brown would say that it's something we should celebrate. But if you ask young Black people or people who are suffering from racism, it's not something to celebrate. But anyway, it creates a hierarchy that divides us. And we will explore our understanding of it. But for us, it's for the purposes of unification and progress. So what is color? Let's say, what is color? Well, it turns out that color basically is made up of what we say are colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet are actually components of white, the color white. So if you like, there are two primary, there's one primary, well, not primary, there is one color in our universe, which is white light. And then there's its absence, which is black. But I will come to that later. So when you pass a white light to a prism, you get what I call the primary colors, which are red, orange, yellow, as you can see. So that is what color is. If you want to know what color is, that is what color is. But scientifically, it's part of what is called the electromagnetic spectrum, which are that which is visible to the human eye. It is part of a spectrum. It's also rays. I was hoping Brother Carrington will be here to explain this more in depth for us, because he is our physicist, our resident physicist. So we have long radio waves on one end, and then at the extreme end are what I call gamma rays. Within them somewhere is what it calls visible light. The lights I've mentioned, from red, orange, yellow, and so on, that the human eye can see. The human eye cannot see the others. So that is what it is. These are how they are used in terms of the waves. You can see in the middle there is a visible light. That's all we can see with the human eye. There's something called ultraviolet radiation. Radiation is energy. It's acceleration in the energy of photons or particles. If I don't get my physics right, don't crucify me. Brother Carrington should have been here to help us. But anyway, ultraviolet radiation is emitted by the sun, and that's the reason why the skin tans and burns. You can get skin burn because of ultraviolet radiation. Right. So here again is my prism with white light passing through. So what is black? It turns out that black is the absorption of light. So you only see black if what you are saying is black, it means that which you are seeing has absorbed light. So you can say that black is the absence of light. For those of you who are Christians, you recall there's a passage in Genesis that says, and there was darkness over the face of the earth, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. And there was light. So before light, there was darkness. So darkness is the absence of light in that sense. However, the black that we see only absorb about 90 to 95% of light. The only thing that absorbs all light is called the black hole. And the black hole is the only thing that absorbs all light. So that is it there from science. Now, as conscientists, we are interested in the human body because skin tone is part of the human body. Now, this picture you are seeing is the body of a human being, male or female, doesn't matter. Black or white doesn't matter. Yellow or green, yellow or violet, it doesn't matter what color you are as a human being. This is the chemical composition of every human being, or the average human being, if you like. Now, the reason we are interested in this as conscientism is that conscientism is a scientific philosophy and ideology. Okay, so the question is, I think one of the things we should be asking ourselves is, what is the source of colorism? Where is it coming from? Now, as you can see, the human body is made up of 65% oxygen, carbon is 18.5%, hydrogen is 9.5%, and nitrogen is 3.5%. And then there are other chemical elements which together are 3.5%. This is the constitution of every human being. Yeah. So scientifically, what this means is that biologically we're all the same. Yeah. Biologically, all of us are the same. Now, if all of us are the same, it means that there is only one human race. Now, unlike other species, the human race hasn't got a subspecies. So there is no subspecies in the human race. In human beings, you can't say this person is a subspecies of what is called a human being. So we are the only group, one of the only groups, the only group that have no subspecies. But in terms of all the elements, there is hydrogen, there is carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. Then there is calcium. These are the elements that compose us. There is calcium. There is phosphorus. Then there is calcium. There is potassium, and so on. I mean, so many elements. There are about 21 of them. Magnesium is there. Iron, zinc is also part of our constitution, and copper. Yes, copper. We have copper in our body, but in small amounts. Yeah, and so on and so forth. So all these elements, iodine, molybdenum, we got lithium, and so on and so forth. All these are part of our body. So if the human body is the same for all human beings, in other words, if the human race has the same body type, how did colorism arise? How did colorism arise? So there is what you call the social construct of race, and there is a historical, cultural, and social, institutional. And so the concept of race has been used historically to justify social, economic, and political inequalities. During colonialism and slavery, race was used to classify people and establish hierarchies, often to the benefit of the colonizers. Cultural and social implications. Race as a social construct impacts individuals' identity experiences. People are often categorized based on their physical characteristics, like in color, which can lead to stereotyping, prejudice, and discrimination. That takes us to institutional racism, which is that despite the biological reality of one human race, and this is a key thing, despite the fact that biologically there's only one human race, some people have created racial categories and talk about the races of men, or the races of human beings. So there's something called the white race, the African race, the Chinese race, the Indian race, and so on and so forth. And these have been institutionalized in many societies, affecting access to resources, opportunities, and rights. This systemic inequality is often referred to as institutional or structural racism. So what we are saying is that biologically, there's only one human race. So the idea of races or racial categories has no basis in biology. Therefore, it is a social construct. So what is racism? Well, it's the belief that there's something called different races who possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities, which can be used to distinguish them as inferior or superior. Racism leads to prejudice, discrimination, antagonism directed against people based on their race or ethnicity. That's what racism is. So we have biologically the fact that there's only one human race. Then spuriously, they've come up with the idea of different races. Out of it, they've built racism. Then from racism, we have racism. Then it's informed by colorism, or colorism could have informed racism. And what is colorism? Colorism is refers to the discrimination or prejudice based on skin color, sometimes particularly within the same racial or ethnic group. So you have within Africans, if you like, preferring certain skin colors to others within the same group, privileging certain people because they have a certain skin color against other people. And then across different ethnic groups, again, privileging the ethnicity of one or another person from a different ethnic group. Notice I'm not saying a different race because it doesn't exist, but we have ethnic groups, if you like, or nationalities, if you like. So preferencing somebody from a different ethnic group or nation against your own, or even against someone with the same skin color from your own nationality. I mean, this is insidious. I mean, it's, if you like, it's evil, if you like, but it happens, and it's happening. And it privileges lighter skin tones over darker ones. Now, I am very interested in this topic because I see this as the heart of the problems that Africa has faced. Slavery was based on it. Colonialism was based on it. Neo-colonialism is also based on skin tones. And for some reason, if you have a certain skin tone, you have somebody has a right to dominate you. And it's very, very it can be also very disheartening and very saddening, and so on. So that is what colorism is. Again, I won't go into what it's meant historically and so on, like passing and so on. We'll do that another time. From racism and colorism, then comes white supremacy. What is white supremacy? It's a racist ideology. It promotes the belief that a white race or white people, remember, there are no such thing as races, and yet this ideology says that setting a group of the human race called or defined as white people are superior to people of other racial groups or other members of the same human family, and should therefore dominate society. I mean, this is a belief. And as a belief, it involves discrimination based on, among other things, physical appearance. I mean, none of us chose our physical appearance. I mean, now I am talking to you. I didn't choose my physical appearance. My parents did not consult me before I was born. Kwame, we want to have a child. Would you like to be born? And then I'll say, oh, yes or no. Would you like to choose your skin tone? Do you like to be white, black, yellow, green? Can you choose? No. None of us here were consulted before we were born. And yet, because of physical appearance, somehow you should be dominated. I mean, how wrong can that be? Keep in mind the time, Brother Pigeon. I know it's 5 to 8. I'll finish very quickly so we can have a discussion. So that is white supremacy. So we can see how. So what have I done so far? I have looked at the definition of color, what color is, in terms of physics. I've looked at that. Then I have looked at what also black is in terms of physics, as the absence of light or color. So the reason my skin is dark is because my skin absorbs light. It doesn't absorb all the light, which is why you can see that I'm not very, very dark, but I am still black or brown, if you like. We've looked at that. Then we've looked at how the fact that there's only one human race. And we've looked at the fact that even though there's only one human race, certain groups came up with the idea that there are different races based on physical appearance and characteristics. And out of that has come a social construct, which has led to colorism and white supremacy. So that's how far we've come. Now, if there's only one human race, and so on, and one human race, where did the idea come from? You know, the privilege of light-skinned people over we dark-skinned people. Where did that come from? Well, apparently there are three historical reasons. There may be more, but I found three. One, during slavery, lighter-skinned black individuals who happened to be the children of slaves and other masters received preferential treatment due to their proximity to whiteness. So there is a sense in which proximity to whiteness is seen as some kind of privilege, and you are treated better because your skin color appears to be proximate to whiteness. Then there are blue vein societies. Instead of condemning it and seeing it as evil, light-skinned black individuals rather formed exclusive clubs known as blue vein societies. These are our brothers and sisters, by the way. Instead of them fighting it,
Madness.
they decided to create societies. And in that society, admitted only light enough skin people to reveal blue veins. And I remember speaking to a sister from the Caribbean who said that after the end of colonialism in the West Indies, when he went to certain institutions like banks, all you saw were white or very light-skinned people. Black people like myself were never allowed in these institutions. You never went to the bank and saw someone with black skin or dark skin tone. Now it's all changed, by the way, but in the early days, that's how it was. And then we have the one-drop rule, which is dating back to 1652, and Virginia law. Someone would say an illegitimate law, one would say, where one-drop rule defined anyone with even one black ancestor as black, reinforcing color-based categorization. So apparently, these are the three sources of where this colorism comes from. That's the source of it. Although one would argue that before slavery started, there was no colorism historically. Colorism and racism and white supremacy arose because of the need to justify slavery on ideological basis. So they came up with all these spurious, So I'm sure when we come to the discussion, others will add more. But as I'm not dealing with everything today, it's 8:09. I'll try and finish by latest quarter past. Now, for us, colorism creates divisions within the Black community, hindering unity. We must recognize colorism. Recognizing is crucial to dismantling it, which is why we are discussing it. And then we need to celebrate diversity of skin tones. It's essential for unified Black identity. Here is some of a slide showing the effect on our children. I say our children because I have children of this age group as well. And you can see there's a dark-skinned child crying or in tears behind her other children of ours. They are all our children, by the way. Yeah, it doesn't matter what the skin tone of the child is. She or he is our child. My mother is as light as the lady behind the sister who has her hands in her eyes. That's how light my mother was. My father was as dark as the black lady in front. They're all black, by the way. They're just shades of black. The sister, the young daughter in front, my father was that dark, maybe darker. My maternal uncles were all very light. And then my paternal uncles were dark. So within my own family, I have a whole shade, and we are very proud of it. However, having a different skin tone was never interpreted within the Africa that I grew up in, within the ethnic group that I grew up in, was never interpreted as a source of being privileged or dominated. It was never the case. We were all treated differently. My sister is much lighter than I, and yet she complains, my mom loved me, who is darker than her, who is lighter. So that was just her complaint. Children always do that. Oh, mommy, oh, daddy, you love this child or this person more than I. Children have that. But parents will tell you they love all their children equally. And I don't know of any child, any parent that will not love their children equally. Although sometimes children say their parents don't. But anyway, this is the import of colorism. Lower self-esteem, internalized racism, unequal opportunities in areas of employment, education, and healthcare. I remember coming to the UK many years ago. I wanted to apply for certain jobs, and my African friends said, "Don't bother." I said, "Why?" They said, "Because you are black." I said, "What does that mean? I'm black?" And I did not know I was a black man until I came to England. I did not know I was a black man. I knew I was a black man, yes, but I did not know I was a black man in racist terms until I came to England. It is in England that I came face to face for the first time with racism and its implications for employment and so on. And then there's preference for lighter skinned actors, models, and media personalities, and so on. Here's an example of a film in which you can see those who know Charlton Heston. He is the one in the middle lying down on his tummy. There's a black man behind him, as you can see, massaging him. And then on the left is a guy called John Gielgud, and he is acting Octavius Caesar. And on the other hand, he is being massaged by a white woman. Now, if story, Anthony, because Charlton Heston is acting Anthony in that film, Anthony was seen as less than Octavius, whose uncle, Julius Caesar, was murdered by a group of Romans. Anyway, this is Julius. If you're interested in the story, very interesting. The point I'm making here is that there is a father figure of mine, someone I will call daddy, massaging a fellow member of the human race, presumably on the basis that he lying down is superior and my father there is inferior. I find that distasteful. I find that unacceptable. I find that evil. And I'm sure you can use your own words that you like, And this is not an accident. It was the casting director who decided who should be who. It's not by accident and so on. Here is the modern context, but I'll skip this. I want to go to what Nkrumah said about Marcus Garvey and W. Du Bois. Now, why do I bring up Marcus Garvey and W. Du Bois? Because what we are discussing, colorism, broke out between the two of them, to the extent that Du Bois called Marcus Garvey black, small, black, and ugly. And Marcus Garvey was at the forefront of the fight for black respect. And he had a newspaper. Again, we can't go into everything today. And one of the things that his newspaper was vehemently against was the message that African Americans or black people should lighten up their skin, lighten up their skin. And Garvey wasn't for that. He fought that. And so he and Du Bois fought. And Nkrumah went to America to meet Marcus Garvey. But by the time he got there, Garvey had been expelled out of America. Anyway, I don't know if you know the story, but Du Bois was invited by Nkrumah to Ghana, where there's a center named after him, whilst Garvey is buried in, I believe, a cemetery in London. Again, because of time, I'll skip this. We'll deal with this another time. This is what Nkrumah said about Garvey, about his inspiration for Pan-Africanism, his advocate for African unity, and Garvey's influence on African leaders, including Nkrumah himself. Nkrumah was a Garveyite, by the way. And this is what Nkrumah said about Du Bois as well. Du Bois' intellectual influence, his Pan-Africanism, his mutual respect, and their mutual respect and collaboration. Du Bois died in the arms of Nkrumah, by the way, in Ghana. How to dismantle colorism. These are examples. I'll leave that on the screen and pause here so that we can have a discussion. Thank you. Brother Pigeon.
Thank you.
It's fair to say that you should then chair the discussion because I've just been speaking.
Okay. Thank you for, I believe this was excellent conversation and not even conversation, an excellent presentation. This topic has been weighted dearly with some of our members that we decided that we put it forth to a session like this instead of what was appearing like a confrontation. So personally, I believe you've done something wonderful, and those who believe so can just actually show some clap for Brother Kwame through the reaction points that are available on the Zoom, or you can do anything else to appreciate his presentation. But then we are opening up the conversation. Brother Kwame is here for the next 40 minutes. He will be responding to any question or any contribution in regards to this. You can also, in the process of your contribution, share your experience or your standpoint. Your thinking is actually accepted and we'll respect it. Just be actually respectful enough in your presentation, but you're free to share your thinking. So I will go, as usual, we read the names. We don't raise your hands. I'll just read your name from the chat list and you can come in. If you don't have anything to share with us or reaction, just tell me pass. But I'll ensure that everybody within the next minutes remaining can share something in regards to this. I will try to limit the time a bit because we're around 13 and you have 30 minutes. Probably 2 to 3 minutes is enough for each person who wants to speak. I'll start with Brother Anjola in my list. Brother Anjola, what's your reaction to this, your thinking to this, or any question you have to Brother Kwame? Brother Anjola? Okay. I'll go to Chisomo. Brother Anjola, I'll come back to you later. I'll read you again in the next round of names. Chisomo, I know you said you are not able to speak. If you're still not able to speak, just let me know. And then, okay, I'll go to Brother Gleroy. Brother Gleroy? So, Sister Chisomo and Angela, I'll come back to you later once I'm done with the list.
Yes, greetings. Kwame, where do you put Europeans' fascination with sunbathing and changing the color of their skin? Even as you know, it's not just a case of the going on holiday to the sun. They've invented machine to do that during the winter, etc., etc. So is that part of the process?
Yeah, you notice I didn't mention that at all in this presentation. I didn't mention either. I know I mentioned it in terms of Garvey and Du Bois fight, but that's all. I think that in itself is a whole session.
You did mention skin lightening.
I did mention it.
Yeah, I did mention. So I thought I'd ask the other way around. Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned the fact that there is, in terms of racism and white supremacy, it is that. But yeah, I acknowledge that there is that as well. In as much as there are Black people who want to have lighter skin, there are also the other spectrum. The other end of the other spectrum is also white people who want to have a tan, and to have a tan is seen as something wonderful. So yeah, I acknowledge that. I'm happy for us to, as I said, we shall be developing. The theme is so vast. I didn't realize myself, even though we started the discussion on the WhatsApp, which was becoming like a confrontation because of the way I probably started it with a child being carried by a father. And the way I put it, people interpret it as me saying that I wasn't light enough or the child wasn't dark enough, however you want to put it. So, but the whole, the topic is very vast, because what does it mean to be a white person? Again, we haven't dealt with that. What does it mean to be a black person? I mean, you can have a geographical answer. You can also have a chemical answer and so on. So yeah, I agree, brother. Yeah, we'll deal with that in later presentations. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me go to my list again. Let me check after Leroy. We are going to Sister Ida. Sister Ida.
I'm here. I'm wondering what to say because I think it's
No.
such a divisive, um, such a divisive.
Sorry, we can't hear brother Sister Ida.
Well, sorry. I'm doing my best. I'm saying that I think colorism is such a divisive issue, and I'm not even sure that it's something that we should have been having discussions about because I don't know that it necessarily achieves anything. I think that there are too many people with fixed ideas that are anti this or anti that. And I know we had very, what is the word? Very hard discussions in the group. But I think it was because of how the picture was being interpreted. So even though I appreciate what you've had to say tonight, I am not sure that colorism is something that can easily be discussed in a way that that necessarily helps a lot of people. So it's been interesting to hear what you've had to say about it.
Okay.
Apart from that, I'm not sure that at the moment I have anything more to say.
Okay.
Because I don't think that colorism is only an African issue. It's an Indian issue. It's a Japanese issue. You know, a lot of people are always trying to sort of, if they feel it will enhance their image, maybe trying, as Brother Glenroy said about lightening skin issues and stuff like that. But I don't know that this is necessary enhancing this one way or the other. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sister Ida. Of course, Brother Kwame, you can come in, but I wanted to remind part of the first recommendation on how to dismantle it. It's very clear that we need to have an open conversation about it and its impact.
Precisely. Yeah. In fact, you said what I was going to say, that one of the things about racism is that some people don't want to talk about it. And because of its nature. And so they would rather not talk about it. I am not referring to what Sister Ida has said. I am talking about generally. As someone who has been involved in the anti-racist struggle, me personally, I have been involved in the anti-racist struggle in this country. And it is a case that sometimes some people don't want us to talk about it because it is the elephant in the room. And so let's pretend it is not there. But we have to talk about it. I disagree with Sister Ida that she doesn't think it will achieve anything. I think it will achieve a lot. Conscientism believes, and rightly so, scientifically, that all of us have the same human origin. All human beings are equal. Therefore, it is wrong for any social system to be based on the idea that there are fundamental differences in human beings, and in human beings also based on skin tone. Scientifically, it is wrong. And so I think it is right that we discuss it. what will come out of it, I'd like to tell Sister Ida, is the fact that, as you've mentioned, Brother Pigeon, open conversations about it and its impact is important. Our children are suffering the effects of colorism and racism and white supremacy. If we're going to talk about anything, why not that which is affecting our children? You know, sometimes you find children fighting. You know, I mean, I am a teacher, you know, and we have cases all the time about bullying. Children are being bullied on what the basis of what? Sometimes on the basis of their skin tone. So I'm sorry, Sister Ida. You know, this is something that we have to talk about.
Thank you, Brother Kwame. The second point talks about celebrating our Black beauty, which means in various shades. Because as a young person, you're saying, in my age today, when you want to marry, we'll say, my community is a bit dark. There was a comrade here from Sudan who was so darker than some of us. And in my community, we are dark, and people will be saying, if you have to marry, we admire the light-skinned ladies from the community who are light-skinned. And we'll be saying, if you marry a light skin, you mix with your dark skin, you'll get something that is at least not so dark like yourself, you see. So there's a way now, it also affects our psychologists, our younger generation coming up in a way that you're not proud of who we are or our community, and we'll be proud of other community whom we feel are light-skinned a bit, but still within the same nationalities or the same countries that we are. So that is also a clear difference that's still going on within us. And it's very important that we need to embrace it, talk about it, and see each other same, not privilege in terms of the skin tone and everything else that's going on. Thank you for that. Let me go to Brother Mafole. Mafole?
Can I, Brother Pigeon, can I say, while Brother Mafole gets ready to come in, that what you said also was a case in America, as I understand, that the rule was marry somebody lighter than yourself, because the aspiration was to have very light-skinned children. So,
thank you for that.
So the Lu are not the only people. In fact, there are other African groups as well who also marry, because they are very dark. I don't want to mention names, by the way. That also marry from another social group that have people with lighter skin. So my group, where I come from, our group people have lighter skins than other groups in Ghana. So you have historically people marrying from my nationality for the same reason you have mentioned. But that is precisely what we are talking about. That is a prejudice that we are talking about. That's the colorism we are talking about. The prejudice against a certain skin tone. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Mafole, and welcome, Brother Coco.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm personally worried about these fearful people who decided that they want to differentiate people based on color, because all of us are not the same. We have so many differences. And it's just a question of fearful people wanting to find something that is easier or simpler to discriminate against others, just because they want to differentiate themselves. They're not so confident about themselves. And there's something deeper about the reason why people want to distinguish themselves. It's basically fear. And we will talk about it maybe tomorrow, next weekend. We're talking about the basis of these discriminations. Differences are natural and fundamental, because there wouldn't be any life, there wouldn't be any cohesion if we were all the same. There's polarity in life. There's binary polarity in life. Things have to be different. You can't build a house with stone only, or with water only, or with sand only. We need all the elements. So it's time, I think, we need to be working on educating each other, including educating these very same people who have put colorism on the pedestal, because there's nothing to eat, absolutely nothing to eat. But yeah, let's go on talking about it. I personally don't. Yeah, I see what Brother Kwame has put up here, how to dismantle colorism, and yeah, this is great. But we'll go to the bottom of this fear that causes people to want to distinguish themselves from others, to differentiate themselves, because it's got a root. It's got a root in our own creation, in our nature, which is why we have churches, which is why we have these many gods. God that wants to punish other people, to punish people for making mistakes, which is rather not so useful. But yeah, thanks, Brother Kwame, for your presentation, because one is realizing a number of things that we need to work on. We need to look at inclusivity. We need to look at the function and purpose of our media. How then do we use them to dissolve this negative impact about color, about height, about weight, about color of eyes, about type of hair, and all of those things. But yeah, let's continue discussing these things, and we'll get to the bottom of it finally.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Brother Mafolo indeed will be presenting to us next Saturday on the fear, and there's a program he's working on. So he'll be presenting part of this. And I'll go to Sister Myra, but also from the beauty side where I work on in the barber shop, you realize that the biggest industry in Africa today is the beauty industry. Many women are rushing to get, or many men even to get either they call them either the oil or whatever they call it. They want to turn their skin. They want to change to be lighter a bit. Even from our community, you see somebody trying to change, but there are some parts of the body still remaining dark. And you wonder what's the advantage, or what does it give to their mind once they change to that, whatever they want to change their skin tone to? How do they feel peace, or what's driving them to that direction? And something big happening here in Africa or in Kenya, and many companies that even sell those whatever being used for this is from the West. And we are the biggest market and the recipient who want to buy them in to change and be whatever we want to be. And to what advantage or to what privilege do we enjoy after that? Now let me get to Sister Myra. Sister Myra?
Thank you, Brother Kwame, for this presentation. So I want to quickly just share a small experience from my own childhood. I grew up with a single mom who really instilled in me positive affirmation about my skin. We would be doing random things, and she would just say out of the blue, "Oh, you're beautiful, my daughter. Oh, you have beautiful skin." And from a very young age, she would say, "Never, ever, ever bleach." She's the first person that ever used the word bleach to me, even before I knew what it meant. She would say, "Never, ever bleach. You're beautiful. Never change your skin." And whenever there were articles in the newspaper about the side effects of bleaching, she would cut them out and show them to me. And then she said, see what happens? And then as I was coming here to uni, to the UK for uni, I said, now that you're going to uni, you're going to buy your lotions, but be very mindful about the ingredients on those bottles. Be aware of these ingredients. So she always, always made me feel good and put that positive affirmation in me from a very young age. And I feel like parents have a huge role to play in the home, because the home is the first environment that a child will get to know. So parents, uncles, grandparents, African parents, uncles, relatives, especially us who are here, who know the struggles of liberation that we're trying for our home continent. We can play a huge part in the way that these children see themselves and how they see themselves, that as they're growing up, they won't, there'll be that pride in them about what they look like and their Africanicity. The other thing I wanted to say is that Brother Pigeon said something about men wanting to marry lighter women. I feel sometimes that's a huge issue, especially for young women who are impressionable or lack confidence and want to attract men. They get this messaging that men want a woman that looks a certain way, and that's really sad. That's coming from our own brothers, and to me, that's also a colonialist mindset because it others the fellow human being, the other here being the woman, because she's reduced to just what color she is, and this color has to be pleasing, you know. So that takes away the humanity, the Africanicity. She's just that thing that has to look a certain way. So that's sad. So I guess um, there's a lot of work to do. This patriarchal white supremacy system that we're under has really done a lot of damage to all of us, psychologically and mentally, and the way we view ourselves. So there's a lot of damage that has to be healed, but that it can start in the home with us as parents and grandparents, just affirming our children in very positive ways. And like Brother Kwame said, just being open about colorism, what it is, and they'll grow up, and one day they'll come back and say, "Thank you, Daddy. Thank you, Mommy. Thank you for who you made me, because I'm very proud of who I am and I'm very proud of my heritage." Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Sister Myra. Thank you very much for that. Unlike, of course, even so-called tribalism, colorism sometimes is even within the family. It divides even the children, because one might be a light skin, other might not be light skins. Or in a family of light skins, some might be a dark skin. How do they feel and how do the others view them? So it's something even close to us, and how we accept and deal with it from even our home level is very important, you see, because that unity must start from that level. Because if it doesn't go to that level of a family, to a community, to a people, to a continent, it has to grow. But this is something that even we face on a daily basis from a family level. Father Kwame, I'll allow you to come, maybe if you feel to come through. But once I go through rounds, I'll be giving you a chance also to maybe respond to some other comments. But if you want to come in anytime, let me know.
Okay. No, it's fine, brother. Continue. Let's hear from more people. Yes, thanks.
Let's get to Sister Nancy.
Yes, thank you. One thing I think, if I heard you correctly, that I don't agree was the assertion that racism emerged from colorism. I think just, in studying Du Bois and others, I've come to understand that colorism and racism were very deliberate historic tools that colonial powers used, or I should say strategies used to exploit differences among people as a way to maintain control and to further their colonial aspirations. So they always look for anything that was different about people, whether one group of people might be a little taller than another group, or one group might speak a different dialect or something. These differences existed and they're fine, but they were then exploited by the colonists, who gave one group different privileges, and color was one of those spaces. They gave people, typically lighter skinned people, more opportunities for education. They gave them opportunities to work as administrators, and gave them more privilege. And this created a schism where one did not exist before. And the same is true here on this continent during periods of slavery. I think you pointed out correctly that some of the children who were offspring of enslaved women and rapist, owners were light skinned, and they were given different privileges. They were often allowed to work in the house, and or maybe had learned certain kinds of trades or crafts and things that allowed them not to have to work in the fields and not to have to be as oppressed. But over time, I think, we observed the privileges that people, lighter skinned people, got, and it became an aspiration for your children to have an easier life. That just like education can buy your child an easier life, lighter skin could buy your child an easier life. And I really think this is kind of the origin of colorism. These hierarchies are invented. And again, it's part of the divide and rule strategy. So I know we were limited to 2 or 3 minutes, so I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother Kob will note that and will respond to it when I finish the round. Let me get now to Sister Tapua.
Thank you.
Okay.
I hope I'm going to be able to fit it in 3 minutes. But how I've had the opportunity to think about this, because I was brought up in Rhodesia, where what you could do was defined by a race. You just couldn't get into town. You had to have a pass to get into town because of the color of your skin. But after 1980, I kind of lost all that because there was the euphoria that, well, we were in our own space. And then when I went to the UK, you're kind of reminded that you're Black by that experience. But what has helped me understand and maybe put racism, colorism in perspective is observing children's perspective. One of my friends' grandchild in Scotland had a white friend, and we watched in amazement as the white child asked the Black child whether they'd been burnt. It was innocent conversation. And the Black child responded, "Oh, I'm like that because my father and mother are like that." And they went on playing. It was all innocent. There was no negative social construct associated with it. This white child had seen a Black child for the first time and wanted to touch them. And so did the Black child. They also wanted to touch and understand why this person was different. So there's that fascination of the differences in color. I also want to hark back to before the white men came. If you look at the traditions of makeup and art in African traditional societies, you find that they use color. Red to color their faces, to paint their faces, white, and in some cultures it has meaning. So we cannot say human beings cannot see color and appreciate differences in shade, because that will be denying humanity a choice. We like red, we like green, we like yellow. The problem has been the preferences or the perception of color has been polluted by ideology. This was used as a tool to discriminate against one group for selfish ends. I actually had some experiences. I'm not very light, but I'm fairly light. I could put myself in the middle of a spectrum. There was one time when we were in a big girls group and we were supposed to take a common bath somewhere and change, and there's a group of people that refused to have me join their group because I was too light. And I was shocked. I was totally stunned by that because I'd always been treated as Black and been discriminated against because I'm dark. This time I was being discriminated against because I'm light. And it was shocking. I also had an experience of meeting, because Scotland, some parts of Scotland, particularly the islands, have very few Black people in them. And I was in the supermarket. There was a father with a child on the trolley facing forward, and the child looked at me and screamed. Oh, and the father was so embarrassed. And I had to console him to say, it's okay, because the child is doing this innocently. They've never seen someone my color. What I would also like to point out is Black as a color is a symbol of power in all cultures. Black is a symbol of mystery. Black shows depth. Black color plus physical prowess, which is what most of our men have, and women too, makes the white folk very fearful and to some extent envious, which is why you have, I was a teacher and I remember kids using tanning lotions. Lotions in the UK are now colored so that when you apply lotion to yourself, you get a bit darker. Because the white people, I call this envy, particularly of mixed race people, because there's a movement towards the center of not wanting to be white or wanting to be dark Black. There's some kind of movement. So whilst we're saying what we're saying, let's also not deny people the innocent choices that they might make. But it's very hard, I understand, in the circumstances that we're in, because color has been used to discriminate. In Rhodesia, it was almost like it was a plan for white people to have mixed race children whom we called coloreds, because they now had a bit of some color as administrators, as occupiers of ranks in the social order where Black people were not allowed. So I just let people be. There are white people who are taking tablets to be dark, to have a darker shade. There are Black people taking tablets to be light. I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know, but that's my remark. I end here.
Okay, thank you. Before I go to Brother and the list, let me go through the list first. Let me go to Sister Shaza. And as Brother Kwame said one thing here, none of us ever applied, either told our parents or consulted anybody that you want to be this color tone. None of us, or skill color tone, none of us. And therefore we found ourselves on who we are and how we are, not of our choice. But that should also not be used as a means to divide us or look upon each other or look down to one another, but to go beyond that and tell us, yeah, one people, based on the biological aspect Brother Kwame has brought before. But let me go to Sister Shaza. Sister Shaza, we still have 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, just a quick one then. I'd like to say that I echo a lot of what Myra said earlier. I also think that colorism is just a bastard child of what racism is. And it's done a number on the majority of Black people on this planet, which is playing out today. I think, where is it? Yeah, regarding a comment that was made earlier by is it Kwame? You mentioned that, I think it was when you first came to the country and you wanted to apply for a certain job and your friend turned around to you and said, no, don't bother because you're Black. I just think that the language that we use needs to change. Because when you say it's because you're Black, it comes across, it comes across as if you inherently think that there is something wrong with your Blackness when it isn't. There's nothing wrong with your Blackness. So I think we need to change the language. The problem isn't with you. The problem is the actual system that we're in. And in order to make those changes, it's very important that we start with the self, right? That is where the change will happen from within. So let me see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Yeah, I think it's important to change the language. That's definitely one. And also I say Black now and Black to the future.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Shaza. Now to Brother Raspala, and then I'll go to Brother Coco. Raspala? Okay. Brother Ras, it seems maybe it's not able to speak. Now, Sister Tapua, I've gone through all the list, members present here. Brother Coco, come in then maybe after you wind up, after you finish, Brother Kwame will finish for us with his closing remarks and what is the proposal. Yes, Sister Shada?
Sorry, I forgot to mention. You know, you mentioned about the mixed children who were getting preferential treatment, you know, during in slavery. Well, those children, right? Many of them did run away from the plantation. So if life was so good for them, right? How is it and why did many run away? That's my question.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Brother Coco, and then now Brother Kwame will come in.
Thank you for this topic. Thank you for the great presentation, Brother Kwame, even though I missed most of it. I'll pick that on recording. But this is a great topic because we are introspecting as the children of the melanin. Most of the times we point the finger outside and say, the other race has done this to us, the other race has done that to us. But today, I like it because we are looking inwards and asking ourselves what went wrong. So I also like to echo a lot that has been said already by people from my own region, Sister Tapua and Dadema Fule. And I somehow find it funny all the time. Sister Myra will sort of express most of the stuff that I had in my mind. But allow me to quickly read this from the great Malcolm X. He said, "Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin? To such an extent you bleach to get like the white man. Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet? Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate your race that you belong to so much so that you don't want to be around each other?" So we have to realize that self-hatred is real, is in us, and it continues. We cannot deny that. Where I come from in Southern Africa, Dadima Fule and Sister Tapua will attest to this. Most of the people there are light-skinned. And as a result, they end up calling people who are darker, especially who come from above the Limpopo River, Makorekore. The word Makorekore, they have never even went to this to find out what Lekorekore means. Makorekore are the Shona ethnic group called Makorekore who live closer to the Zambia border. But because they used to have a swarm of armies and they were was called, and it ended up.
You have a minute, maximum of a minute to go, and now I'll leave Brother Kwame with the very limited time, but just wind up, please, in a minute.
Thank you. I'll do that. I'll do that with pleasure. Thank you, brother. So my point is, we need to look in us, introspect, and look at the biases we hold, and let's deal with that. And I'm talking most importantly, this is the basis of xenophobia in South Africa. We have to address that. We have to address that. If we don't see our brothers, if we don't look at our brothers and see ourselves in them, then that's the problem. Is that self-hatred? Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Chitamo, I'll not lock you out, please. Just share your thinking with us.
Yeah, it's a very difficult topic. Bye. Sorry, I was waiting for someone, so they've just arrived. Yeah, anyway, so the topic is a very difficult one, and the arguments depend on where, again, lived experience and where you're from or where you are. So, for example, a Black person in America who's never been to Africa, their argument will be different. Those of us on the continent, the arguments will be different depending on which country you're coming from. For example, those who lived in Zimbabwe, South Africa, would have a different argument from, for example, people who lived in Malawi and other countries, simply because, like the introduction at the very beginning of the presentation, the presenter said, I was surprised when I come here and I'm called Black. Whereas the person from Zimbabwe said, when I came here and I was called Black, it reminded me of our life, our history in Zimbabwe. So the brother who did the presentation, because of the country they come from, where the majority were the Africans, and the issue about Blackness or the word Black is hardly used, and then you go to a place where you're now being called Black and you're like, in your mind, it then sounds very negative. Depending on how it's used again, it then sounds very negative, very demeaning, very all sorts of things, because that's how it's designed in that particular environment. So it becomes a different argument. And then the sister who spoke at the end, not at the end, but the one before, I think, who then said, for some people, it's a choice, depending on what they want to achieve, whether it's beauty or whether it's success in life. Let them be. Then she goes, let them be. The white people who want to become dark, you get a lot of Caucasians who will say to you, oh, I only went out with the Black man to have a mixed race child. The same thing, some Black people here in the UK will say, oh, I only wanted the mixed race child. And they never wanted to marry the man or the woman. They just wanted that child to look like that. You see? So where I'm coming from, the issue, maybe the racial issue would have been between colored people and us Africans, because you can see the difference. The only difference we're telling is that someone is colored and someone is African, without saying Black or white or identifying people as that. With white people, we don't use white, we use Mzungu. So when you come here, then you get these categories of white, Black, this and that. And then you, so this term Black also for me is very, very confusing, because in different countries, Black people include Asians, include all sorts of previously they were people of, then they became people of color, then they became, it's just a confusion. So it's a very difficult, today in our families, we have, like somebody said, we are very mixed families. In my family, we have white, we have colored, we have this, we have all sorts. Somebody said, because we're from southern region, most of us are light anyway. We don't know how we became light. In that region, or whether it's the environment. Some people say it's the environment that makes people light or dark or whatever. So it's a very difficult discussion, really.
Okay, thank you. We are actually almost a minute past our time, and it's exactly 9 p.m. or 11 p.m. over here. Baba Kwame, I'll give it to you. I know Sister Tapua's hand is up, but as you know, I think this is the beginning of this conversation. And moving forward, I think we need to see how we go now deeply to discuss some key issues. If we are not ready to discuss our differences, then basically we are not ready to move together as one. We might assume we are one, but until we accept we are one, irrespective of what you try to think that differentiate us or divide us, it actually make us one. No matter how light skin you are in terms of darkness, out there you are still a black person to them. You're still a dark person to them. So until we accept also internally that you're one people, and see each other as one people, then we are better off. But if we are still having this difference in terms of who we are internally, then externally we are still facing other challenges. It's become hard for us to solve.
And just to add one little point, you know, when you were giving the examples and you were saying, oh, there's the Chinese race, there's the whatever race, and there's an African race. You said African, you didn't say black. So what then happened in Scotland? We argued against the same thing. Don't refer to us by color. Call us by who we are as Africans.
Okay.
Call us by who you are. Otherwise, you confuse the statistics. You confuse the so call us Africans. So it's a law in Scotland to call us Africans, not blacks.
Okay, thank you. Brother Kwame?
Yeah, I think Sister Tapua wants to make a quick point. I think we should let Sister Tapua make a quick point.
Sister Tapua?
Yeah.
Sorry, it's okay. The point I wanted to make has been made. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Because of time, I will just say that this is an ongoing conversation. But Foley said he would speak about healing next Saturday, which will link to fear. So this is an ongoing conversation. For me, this is me speaking personally now. This topic goes to the heart of the question of what we have suffered as Black people. I use the word Black people, Sister Chizomo, because in my language, we are called the Black people. I'm a Yibo. I can't say before. The Gans, Sister Ida's people say Medijin Jio, which literally means we are the Black people. So that's how we identify ourselves. We don't identify ourselves in our language as African. Some would argue that the word African is itself not to do with us. We didn't create it. The Romans imposed it on us. So we don't want to call ourselves African. So and so on. But like I said, this is part of a discussion. Sister Chizomo, we can't get to the bottom of it today. Yeah. So I know your hand is up, but we'll discuss this. It's an ongoing conversation. But why are we discussing this topic? Because this I want to end because of the last topic or the last line of my slide on the screen, which is it is to do with African unification and liberation and development. What we are arguing is that there's only one human race. It's full of diversity. Let's accept that diversity and build a new African society that is rooted on human equality, mutual respect, and the diversity and beauty of Africa. Africa is the only continent with the greatest genetic diversity. I didn't touch on that because we can't talk about everything in one presentation. So Africa is the only continent with the greatest diversity, and we'll come to that later on as we look at the topic. Thank you very much for listening. That's the end of it. Brother PG, if you want to make the final announcement about next week and the week after, I think we were looking at Malawi, weren't we? 2 weeks time. Yeah, make that and then we close the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for all of us who have joined here today. You are free to share your thoughts with me, whether you want us to look on various aspects of this in our upcoming conversations, which we'll schedule. But as it has been said, Brother Mafole will be discussing with us on healing and fear as part of the presentation next Saturday. I know tomorrow he'll be presenting at CIS, which is Sunday International Solidarity, on the same concept, which you're invited also to join to learn this. And the following week, we'll be discussing also something that we'll be sharing as we move along with what's happening in Malawi. And I think I'll also be discussing extensively in regards to what's going on in Kenya, probably tomorrow as well. So on Thursday, we'll be going back and going on with our main philosophical class. And as Brother Kwame has mentioned, we all come from the same matter. The sooner we realize this, the better we can move forward as a people. So thank you very much, and let's meet again on Thursday. The recordings will be available on Monday, and I'll share them to all of you. Thank you very much and have a blessed evening.
Thank you.